Hello, everyone. Welcome to Good Film Hunting, a podcast about an average couple who are on the hunt for some good movies. In today's world, we are consuming more media than ever, perhaps more passively than ever. But we believe that by documenting and discussing the media we intake, how and what we intake will change for the better. It is important that we don't just become another consumer, but a participant, seeking to engage with the media we consume, so that we can see how our view of the world affects how we perceive it, and how it affects how we perceive the world. In this podcast, we are not only on the hunt for some good movies, but on the hunt for a good discussion. So, lean in, participate, and enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Good Film Hunting. I'm your host, James Scott, here as always, and beside me is, introduce yourself to the audience.
Savannah Scott.
Yes.
Wife of James Scott.
Whoa, and no one else.
Co-host of Good Film Hunting.
Wow, how does that make you feel?
Pretty good.
Vice president, co-host,
I know.
co-founder.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
I know.
You have quite the resume.
I do.
You could apply for all sorts of jobs.
I know.
They'd be like, I want Savannah Scott because she can do things.
She can.
She can. She's capable.
She can talk about movies a little bit.
A little bit, which is more than most people.
It's true.
So how does that make you feel?
Pretty good, actually.
Pretty good?
Yeah,
That's
ready
good.
to talk about another movie.
Another movie? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, let's do it. So we are going to be talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse for this review. But before we delve deep into our spoiler-filled thoughts from beginning to end, Savannah, how are you doing this evening? Want to give the audience an update as to what's happening in our lives, your life?
Doing pretty good.
That's good.
A couple weeks away from having our second baby.
It's pretty good.
Definitely tired
Definitely tired.
and ready to have a baby.
Ready to have a baby.
But I'm doing good. We're both especially tired tonight because our other baby, our toddler baby, kept us up for like 3 hours in the middle of the night last night.
I know.
So
Yeah.
we're a little hazy,
Just a little hazy.
but we're good.
If we start something just halfway through the podcast, that's why.
It's true.
We're losing our minds, so we're going to persevere. We're going to persevere through this. All right, so if you're listening for the first time, I'll give a brief breakdown of the episode. I've got a bunch of lists about the movie that I will share with Savannah. Sorry, a list of facts that I'll share with Savannah, not just lists. I've got lots of lists, but I won't share them all with you because that might bore you significantly. A list of facts about the movie that I'll share with Savannah. She may or may not know some of these facts. Then we'll give our general thoughts on the movie, favorite moment of the movie. We'll go through our rating system with 4 categories that we'll rate on a scale of 1 to 5. We'll show our overall rating at the end for just the movie in general. And then we will move on to watching another movie at some other point in time. Not tonight. As we've established, we're very tired, so that would not end well for anybody. Although, if he does stay up 3 hours again, we might as well watch another movie, right?
That's true.
Pride and Prejudice again. Woo!
Woo!
Classic.
I know. Great middle of the night movie.
You know, because we've seen it so many times, you can just kind of like, if you doze, you're not really missing anything.
It's true.
All right, so you ready for some facts about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
I think this is my favorite part, usually.
Really?
I
Do you like
hearing
this?
about the things, the facts,
That's fun.
the fun facts.
That's fun. Oh, also, this, once again, this will be spoiler-filled from beginning to end. We will definitely get more heavy into the spoilers as it goes on. I'll kind of indicate when that will be, but just so you have your warning if you haven't seen this yet. Anyway. All right. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was released June 2nd, 2023. We did go and see this one in theaters.
We did.
At the Warehouse Cinema,
Yes.
which was an okay experience.
It's true. I feel like it had potential.
It did. It just was not well
Executed.
maintained.
Yeah. But when the primary demographic of employees at a movie theater are like teenagers, it's kind of
true,
understandable.
yeah.
And have you ever seen a manager in a movie theater?
I've talked to some.
Oh, you have.
No,
Managers of movie theaters.
Yeah, for like cable extensions.
But you've never seen them at the movie theater.
I've never seen them.
So who knows? Who's really managing this?
It's true, it's true.
It's like Planet of the Apes,
I
except
know.
for movies and teenagers.
Drastic. This film was distributed by Sony Pictures. This movie had 6 production companies. It had Columbia Pictures, which is another branch of Sony Pictures, Marvel Entertainment, Sony Pictures Animation, which I guess is different than Columbia Pictures, because I guess Columbia Pictures puts out animation and other stuff. Pascal Pictures, because Amy Pascal was a producer. Lord and Miller Productions, because they were the writers and producers. And Arad Productions.
Huh.
So
Wow.
that's a lot.
That is a lot.
This film was produced and written by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Probably some of my favorite writers when it comes to movies. I haven't seen everything they've done.
Yeah, what else have they done?
They've done the Lego Movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, The Mitchells versus the Machines. They also did 2 live action movies, 21 Jump Street, and then I think it's sequel 22nd Jump Street.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, I haven't seen them though. I've seen all their animated stuff, and I really enjoy all their animated stuff. It has a runtime of 140 minutes, making it the longest animated movie ever.
Really?
Really. Not by like a huge amount, but definitely
That's
the
so
longest.
interesting. I think this is foreshadowing, but I think you can definitely tell.
Can you tell?
Yes.
It had a budget of 150 million, which is definitely high, but considering most Pixar films like The Incredibles 2 had a budget upward of $200+ million, so that's pretty good. The box office of 690 million. This made it the 6th highest grossing film of 2023. So the movies come before. Highest grossing in 2023 was Barbie, then the Super Mario Brothers movie, then Oppenheimer, then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Fast X, and then Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that the Super Mario movie was above Oppenheimer.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It was an animated movie. Most people weren't taking
Well,
their
it's
kids.
not that so much as it's Mario. Like,
That's true.
you can't beat Mario.
But also, a lot of people take their kids to see movies, and
It's
most
true.
people weren't taking their kids to
It's
see
true.
Oppenheimer.
But it's, Barbie and Mario, like, those were the highest grossing because everybody knows Barbie and everybody knows Mario. Oppenheimer did very well for its genre, and if we ever, review that, I can share all those facts with you. I want to save it, save that for your reaction.
It's true. Why didn't they have Barrio or Marby?
Barbie.
Marby.
The Barbie Mario phenomena.
That would have been funny.
That would have been funny. This film's overall box office surpassed the original movie Into the Spider-Verse in just 12 days.
Wow.
Because the first one only grossed not even 400 million.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't like a great reception. It was after its release, when it was pretty much streaming, that people actually realized, like, hey, this is
a
good movie.
Is this Marvel's first? Was the first one Into the Spider-Verse? Was that Marvel's first animated movie?
No, I mean, they've done lots and lots and lots of animated projects. This is like the first theatrically released.
Full-length feature
Yeah,
film.
probably. I would guess so. This had the 3rd best opening for an animated movie in history so far, behind the quote-unquote live-action Lion King and The Incredibles 2.
Best opening? Like, what does that mean?
Most amount of money made.
Oh, okay. Like on opening weekend?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wait, second to what? Is it
But it was 3rd.
3rd?
So
Okay,
the live action, I put in quotes, Lion King was first. Because it's all CG, but they call it the live action Lion
It's so
King.
weird.
Yeah. And The Incredibles 2.
Is Lion King that beloved that people would want to go see at the live
Well,
action?
people love the first one, yeah. Like, that is
The live action one or like the
the animated one. So, of course, the live action one's going to make a lot of profit.
That's so weird. I didn't know that.
This had 3 directors. Joaquim dos Santos, who has done a lot of writing for Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra. So he has some good writing history for the most part. He also did Into the Spider-Verse. Has Kemp Powers, who was a co-director for Soul, Pixar Soul, and then Justin K. Thompson. I haven't recognize anything he's done before. The music was done by Daniel Pemberton. He's just done a lot of miscellaneous things. Nothing like that we would find noteworthy, just because we haven't heard his score of a lot of things. He did the first one of these movies. This stars Shameik Moore as Miles, Haley Steinfeld as Gwen, Brian Tyree Henry as Jeff Davis, Lauren, I guess, Velez, I'm not sure, yeah, maybe, as Rio Morales, Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker, Jason Schwartzman as Spot, who was in Klaus.
Yes, I heard that very strongly.
Spider-Man. And then Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara, or Spider-Man 69. We've seen him in Dune. He was the Duke.
Okay.
I've seen him in what else? Star Wars, I guess, the newer Star Wars movies. But I didn't finish that trilogy. This had the biggest production crew of any animated film in history, with 1,000 people.
Wow.
And it stars over 246 characters and takes place across 6 universes.
Whatever that means.
Primary universes. Spider-Punk took 3 years to develop.
Spider-Punk is in Hobie?
Yeah. Like to figure out how to animate him. His body is animated on 3s or 2s, which are 8 to 12 images. Well, let me explain this. So, when we watch a movie, we're usually watching 24 frames a second.
Okay.
And that still applies for animated movies for the most part. If you were to do something lower, it's going to look choppier. And the first movie, Into the Spider-Verse, was famous for like playing with that a bit, because Miles would be like done. I'm trying to think of it. I think 2s or 1s it would be considered 24 images, but like Miles was done on 3s and 2s, so like he looked just ever so slightly more choppy than like Peter B. Parker, who is like an experienced Spider-Man.
Oh, interesting.
So it's kind of hard to describe, but basically they played a lot with Hobie's image, the image rate. So he kind of looked a little more choppy, and that was kind of obvious because they were kind of going for like the newspaper clippings kind of vibe.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. The Lego sequence was done by 14-year-old Canadian animator Preston Matong. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Who was added late in the movie after the filmmakers were so impressed by his fan-made Lego recreation of the film's first teaser that they tracked him down and recruited him.
Oh, that's wholesome.
That's a CG clip. I thought it was real Legos, because I guess Legos are just easy to animate, it would seem, as we see in the Lego movie.
Interesting.
But when the crew saw the teaser, they were impressed, and they had no idea it was a 14-year-old who did it.
Oh, really?
So they called him up, and they were actually very surprised that it was a teenager.
For some reason, that doesn't surprise me.
That doesn't
I feel like
surprise you?
teenagers and Legos and animation go together very well.
It's true, they do. This originally was going to be one film, but they did split it into 2 parts just because they realized the story they were trying to tell was so big. So at this point, the sequel is set to release in 2025. It was originally set to release this year, but it's taking some more time, it would seem. Tom Holland was approached by Amy Pascal about appearing in this film. Obviously, he wasn't. So people speculate as to whether he'll have some sort of role in the 3rd one.
Interesting.
That is interesting. Spencer Wan, one of the animators for the film, used spam emails he received as background textures in Hobie's animation throughout the film.
Huh.
So very interesting.
Yeah.
The production of this film was completed on May 20th, 2023, just 13 days before the U.S. release date.
Wow.
Whew.
They were probably all very stressed.
Cutting it close.
Staying up really late.
Drinking
lots of energy drinks.
I know. That'll do it. But yeah, that's all I have as far as that goes. Anything shock you?
Not really. All very
Not really.
interesting, though.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so now that we're done with that.
Well, I'm actually kind of shocked that this was the longest animated movie. Of all
Really?
time. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine it's like significantly like the longest because The Incredibles 2 was very long in and of itself, which I feel like there's going to be a lot of comparison to this one and that one.
Yeah.
Because these two, no, Into the Spider-Verse and The Incredibles 2 came out the same year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
Into the
Spider-Verse came out a long time ago.
2018, right?
What?
Yeah.
Why did it take them so long to get a sequel?
Because it takes a long time to make an animated movie. A very long time. Plus, this one was a very experimental animated movie.
Yeah.
So it just took a lot.
2018?
2019, 2020. Well, and COVID, too. Put a little delay in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Incredibles too.
I know. That's crazy,
At
right?
Berkeley Plaza.
Rest in peace, Berkeley
I know.
Plaza.
It seemed a little better to me when I was.
When your standards aren't, up
I know.
to par. Berkeley Plaza is a little theater here in town, and it's family run, but it is probably the worst theater I've ever been to. No offense to, no offense to it.
You know it's bad when you have to wade through like 2 inches of popcorn on the floor to get to your seat.
It's true. When the popcorn only costs $3 and the soda $2, you're like, is this soda or
know,
water
when you
with
can-
soda flavor?
I know when you can go to the movies for a total of $10 for everything, including your snacks, it's probably not a good sign.
You have to pay in cash. I'm like, I don't know about this. We went and saw Mission Impossible. I guess it was Dead Reckoning Part 1, and I regret that, but it's okay. It was a fun memory. I do want to rewatch that movie, though, to fully appreciate
I
it.
still have the taste of the soda seared in my mind, though. Not good.
Anyway, moving on. So, Savannah, what were your general thoughts on this movie? And you can be honest. Don't feel like you have to alter it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say my general thoughts are super warm and fuzzy. Mm-hmm. They're not like violently negative, but just kind of meh.
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 Like, I can appreciate some things about it, but there's just a lot of stuff that just is kind of meh to me,
Okay.
which we can get into more as it progresses.
As it
but
progresses.
the general vibes are just kind of meh,
I see.
meh,
Meh. Meh.
meh.
Meh. I mean, my general thoughts. Well, I guess I kind of want to start with my history because we kind of like to do that. I remember seeing the trailer for Into the Spider-Verse when it was announced and kind of thinking whatever, and we're like, we didn't go and see it. And then my family just happened to watch it one day, and my dad was like, "Is it actually? I quite liked it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I watched it, and I don't think my mom has seen it to this day, which is surprising.
Oh, interesting.
But my siblings and I and my dad all really like it. So I was kind of excited when this one came out, and I kind of had no expectations for it other than that. I guess they were going to expand the concept of the multiverse and all that entails, and we'll go into that more later. But I really enjoy this movie. I enjoyed it the first time in theaters. I think I probably enjoyed it more this time because there was less distractions going on around me. I do think that this one, and kind of along with the first one, are probably the best Spider-Man films I've seen. Because they really deal with the topic of being Spider-Man very well, I think. And like the bigger narrative of being like a superhero or having that responsibility. And I've only remember the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, which is a little more of like the stereotypical Spider-Man story everyone's familiar with. And then there's the Andrew Garfield ones. And we touched on that. We felt like there were moments that definitely dealt with that, especially in the second one. Just him kind of balancing everything. But I think this one, kind of being integrated with the idea of the multiverse, for better, for worse, and Spider-Man, like just really brought a lot of interesting like conversations and thoughts and patterns, and like, oh, this is what it means to like take on a role like this, which is interesting. Yeah, and I just think Spider-Man movies in general probably wrestle with the ideas of being what it means to be a superhero the best. I've heard the Iron Man movies do that well, but I haven't seen those. Captain America does that to some extent, but I feel like the Spider-Man ones are a little more unique because the characters tend to be much more integrated into family life than the other superheroes, which are a little more detached. And like everybody knows their identity, whereas Spider-Man's very intentional about protecting his identity so people close to him don't get hurt. This is definitely the best multiverse movie I've seen. I haven't seen a lot, but multiverses are the thing right now, it would seem.
Unfortunately.
And it's probably because of Into the Spider-Verse, honestly. Probably because people like that one so much that people feel like, oh, we want to do a multiverse movie now. And so Marvel and DC and what was it, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which came out, and we looked at it, we just decided not to watch it. Which won Best Picture was a multiverse film. Like, it's just, that seems to be the vibe right now. Probably just because it's so meta. And that's kind of just the direction that our art has gone over the past decade. Just gotten more meta and kind of looking at itself almost, which is interesting.
So to the multiverse thing. Is there a reason the Spider-Man movies are multiverse? And why, like, are there really that many variations of Spider-Man? Like, and
I mean,
why?
I think they do definitely amp it up for the movies, but yeah, they're an absurd amount of Spider-Man reiterations. Like, as I mentioned, I think it was in the Amazing Spider-Man review, someone made a comment about Spider-Man being like, you know, like a Shakespeare's play, right? It's like Romeo and Juliet. You can do it 1,000 times over in different settings and it works.
And so have there been, like, a bunch of versions?
They're
Like, in Marvel exclusively, or?
Yeah, in like comics. So not
Okay, in comics.
Yeah.
Okay, so one would have to be a comic fan to, like, read the comics stuff.
To like really, really, really appreciate it. Like they do a good job in like having fun with it. But yeah, I think Spider-Man, the comics were probably the first ones to introduce the idea of the multiverse in terms of comic lore, which is probably why they're tackling it with the movie now.
Oh, okay.
So, does that make a little more?
That makes a little more sense. I just, I have feelings about.
You have feelings about it? It's okay. You're allowed to have feelings about it. Did you have a favorite moment of this movie? Was there this had a lot of funny moments, and funny moments usually stand out as being your favorite moments.
It's true. Let me think. I liked the scenes that involved Spot, like when he was more dorky than evil towards the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of a specific one, but there were definitely a couple moments that were like humorous.
I remember you laughing really hard when Miles and his parents are arguing, and the DJ was like,
Oh yes, and the DJ was turning up the music and trying to make it less awkward.
Yeah.
I resonated with that guy. I would have done that.
You would have done that.
Yeah, I think the whole party scene in general was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was. I feel like a couple runner-ups. I did really enjoy the Spot fight scene at the beginning just because it was so bizarre.
When he's trying to steal the ATM.
Yeah. Because that kind of was like an Incredibles 2 moment, right? Mm-hmm. There's that one character who can open the portals, and it's kind of like Spot, but they just went all out in this one.
It's true. I liked the way he looked.
Did you?
Even though he was kind of creepy because he didn't really have a face. Like, I kind of liked his body shape. Like how.
Really?
Yeah, he was very, like, hunched over and weird looking, like, with really long arms and legs, and he just looked like a very, like, awkward...
Scarecrow almost.
Scarecrow kind of character. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I do think my ultimate favorite moment, though... I mean, I did really enjoy the entire Spider-Man chase scene. Another runner-up is the T-Rex moment. Like, where Miles is like, can this day get any weirder? And then, you know, Spider-Rex shows up. That was like, wow, they went there.
I know. There were too many spider people.
But my favorite moment probably was when Miguel, you know, is yelling at everyone, get Spider-Man, or I guess, not get Spider-Man, but like get Miles after he, you know, clarifies it's not Spider-Man. There are too many Spider-Man. And like the doors open and very macho looking Spider-Man comes out. And it's just this really awkward pause. And he's like, do I have something on my face?
Yeah.
And then, but it's, I don't know, something about that tickles me, just how macho he's looking.
Yeah.
And being Morales, like, get Morales. And It's just like what you would expect almost.
Yeah.
But it's not him.
Yeah, that was funny. I thought the part where they all were like, get Spider-Man, and everyone's like pointing at each other.
Which is a meme, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you seen the Spider-Man pointing meme?
I feel like I've heard of it, and I know that was based off of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. That's funny. Okay, so let's move into our rating system. We've got 4 categories that we'll rate on a scale of 1 to 5, which includes overall entertainment, the overall production quality, the writing, and the content. Savannah, on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give this for entertainment and why?
I would give it a 3.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Oof. Ouch.
I know. Not because it's bad. Just because I don't enjoy the animation.
Okay.
I find it very distracting.
Okay.
And not, in my personal opinion, very artistic.
Not
for
artistic.
me.
Okay.
It's just very distracting
Okay.
for me. So I find it really hard to pay attention. Like some of the parts that were a little more chill, like I liked the parts where Miles was interacting with his parents and stuff more because like it was,
Yeah.
fairly two-dimensional. I don't know, not crazy. So that's number 1. Don't love the animation. Number 2, call me crazy. I just don't like teenagers and their angst. It's not my favorite. Like in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, he was somewhat angsty, but not really. Like I felt like he was still a fairly like functional human being, and he was nearing adulthood. I felt like, whereas these guys are kind of just very angsty and like they just want to like listen to angry music and be angsty teens. And I know Spider-Man's persona is angsty teen, and like they talk about that in I think the Tom Holland Spider-Man's maybe.
Yeah.
They just use a lot of angst. Words.
Yeah.
But it's just not my personal favorite.
Okay.
No shade necessarily, but that was number 2. And then number 3. Oh yes, I don't like multiverses.
Yeah.
I find them really confusing. And it could just be a me problem. But I find them really confusing and not particularly fun to like delve into mentally. So all of those could point to me just being a very simple person with very low tastes, but
I mean, personal preferences.
It's true.
Preferences.
So yeah, that's what I would say. They're not bad movies. I think I enjoyed the first one more. Significantly. I haven't seen the first one in a while. I don't think. Did we watch it when we were dating?
No, we were married.
Okay. So it's been a little while since I've seen it.
It was before Asher was born. So.
Yeah. So about 2-ish years. But I think I enjoyed the first one better.
Okay.
I think the first one was a little more chill. Like it wasn't as visually stimulating.
Wasn't as crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. So not bad. Those just aren't my favorite. And also I thought it was a little too long. And it definitely lost my interest towards a certain point when I was like, this movie needs to end.
Yeah.
And then it ended like a couple minutes later, but it needed to end a little sooner. I think it could have cut out a half an hour of the movie.
Perhaps, yeah.
So those are my thoughts.
Okay. Entertainment for me. I'm going to give this one a 5, which is not a 3.
It's true.
One of us is a better person.
I know.
No, that's not true. I don't disagree about specifically the length of it could have been cut back a little bit, especially the ending being kind of dragged out a little bit. But there was never a moment where I was really bored because there was always something to keep me interested, whether it was the visuals or the storytelling or the choreography or the jokes or the emotional beats. There's just always something was offering to you that you could appreciate. So I would give it a 5 despite that. I think this is a pretty emotionally gripping story in my opinion. Like I've personally felt invested in all the characters and their stories. Moody teenagers, whatever. I know that's not your thing.
You were more of a moody teenager than me.
That's true, so I was.
You resonate.
But I thought that it wasn't just like moody teenagers like, oh, my parents won't understand me. Like, it was some of that, but the added layer of having this complex role as a character, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. What does that mean for you, and how are you going to bring that into your life, like your everyday life, or not bring it into your everyday life? Like Gwen's story, you know, she was a very moody teenager, right? Probably the moodiest teenager there was, but they dealt with a lot of her trauma being, you know, she accidentally killed her best friend.
Yeah.
And then her
Which
dad...
is understandable why she would be traumatized.
Yeah. And then her dad thinking that her Spider-Woman killed her, too, which is worse. So it's like, ooh, can I tell him this? Because he's a cop, too, so he has an extra level of, you know... what would you put it? Like I guess what, stigmatism? What would you call that?
Hold on. But not bias, but like something like that. Prejudice.
Prejudice? Yeah, I guess so, just because he has a certain role to play. But at the same time, it's clear she loves her dad, and it's just this very messy relationship. And then there's the reveal where she has to reveal herself to him, and I can understand where he's coming from, but like he doesn't stop being a cop in that moment.
Yeah.
Like that was a gut punch kind of moment. And I can sympathize with, and you know, hers is the most dramatic, but like, you know, Miles being the other example, right? Like I can I understand that and sympathize with that, and I found it emotionally ripping.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was sad because her dad definitely didn't dad very hard in that moment.
Yeah.
Which was a bummer.
Just a little bit. What was I saying? The jokes in this are constant, and for the most part, they're very funny. And even if you don't find one funny, there's always another one like 2 beats away. Whether it's a really quippy line someone's saying, or something visually going on, or like the whole spot sequence. You know, you've got like the height of visual, or not the height of like just humor going on because there's visual gags and quippy lines.
And his voice is funny too.
Yeah. So there's just tons of that, and I really appreciate that. I really like Phil Lord and Chris Miller's style of humor, whether that's the Lego Movie or Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and all that.
Who's your favorite character?
Favorite character? Maybe I'll have an answer by the end of this. I liked a lot of the characters. Not Peter B. Parker.
No. That's the dad, right?
Dad Spider-Man.
No, I like him. I think Miles is my favorite character.
You think so?
Yeah.
He's pretty funny.
He's funny, and he seems like he's a generally upbeat person.
Yeah, and he's an endearing character, too.
He is, yeah. Yeah, no, I don't like Peter B. Parker very much either. He's kind of weird.
I liked him in the first one, but in this one he was just kind of like, what are you doing here? Why
are you wearing a pink fluffy robe?
Yeah. I think it's so that we know it's him because there's so many spider people.
Well, I know, but like he just had like such a stereotypical like slovenly dad vibe.
And that's he embraced it. It's okay.
He did. It's okay.
Last comment I had about entertainment. So this movie is obviously like, you know, filled to the brim when it comes to references, whether it's comic book references or other movie references or just Spider-Man references in general. Most of them are going over our heads, but usually I can kind of pick out when a reference is being made. But I think if you know nothing about any of that and just know Spider-Man, I think they do a good job at just making it funny regardless. Like the whole meme thing, right? That being a culturally significant thing. But like if you didn't know the meme, it'd still be a funny moment.
Yeah.
Like they blend that together very well, I think.
Yeah, unlike Mitchell's versus the Machines, where I feel like you have to know about.
I do, yeah, that one
culture.
is a little more pop culture. Production quality. What would you give this on a scale of 1 to 5?
Well, it's hard to do that for me for an animated film because like I don't really know anything about animation.
Well, you do. Like let's
Let's
age.
compare this to Shrek. Okay.
No, I didn't say that. No, like there is obviously, you can tell when there's a lot of love and care put into something versus like, you know, like a children's show where their top priority isn't
Like Megamind 2.
Yeah,
Quote Megamind 2.
Quote Megamind 2, right? Where it's like they have a different agenda. So
Yeah.
production quality is going to be like, whoa, clearly
Yeah.
not high.
Yeah, well, obviously, I can
Yeah.
compare it. So I would say I'd give it a 5, probably.
Okay.
It's well done. I can appreciate it without enjoying it at all. Like the style.
Yeah.
I think they obviously like put a lot of work into it. Mm-hmm. I don't like it very much, but yeah, I would say I'd give it a 5. And I thought the acting was good for the most part. I thought Peter B. Parker was slightly weirdly acted. I don't know if it's just because of his character, but I felt like his dialogue was kind of awkward.
Okay.
There was a little bit of awkward dialogue, but like that could very well have just been the style of the script and just the vibes that was going on. So I would say I'd give it a 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a 7. Just once.
No. I teeter between 4 and 5 because I think as far as the actual quality of everything goes, like everything's really, really, really good. But the reason I feel like I might give it a 4 is that I do feel like, and this kind of will go into, this is primarily production. I do feel like this movie is a little self-indulgent in terms of just, like taking advantage of different art styles and everything.
Like it's just too much.
Yeah, like it's almost just a little too much. Like there are moments where it's definitely like, I feel like I'm having a hard time appreciating what's going on, and maybe with more viewings that could change. Mm-hmm. The good thing is I could still track the characters very well and still follow the emotional beats, and there never was a moment where like what was happening really took me out of it. But there were definitely some moments where it felt a little more. I definitely had to concentrate a little harder. And I did not enjoy any of the live action integration in this at all.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Because they're clearly trying to link this to, like, the MCU in some way.
Who was that guy that was, like, in the trap?
I think he's someone from, like, one of the Tom Holland movies.
Okay.
I'm not super familiar, but, like, I guess he was a reference to another character.
Guy?
I guess
I don't remember him.
Maybe he was like a background character. But it's very close to being a 5. And I wouldn't throw shade on anyone who give it a 5. It's just for me, I think, because it's a little indulgent in terms of that, it just kind of, it makes it a little less appealing in some ways. Mm-hmm. I do think the music in this is really great. I was paying attention to it this time around because I knew the beats of the story. I feel like this is well mixed, actually, very well mixed music, and I appreciate the different themes the characters have, even though it's not like traditional Hans Zimmer, strings and vocals, and it's more synth and drums and, punk band. Mm-hmm. I didn't mind that. I thought they did a good job with that. Mm-hmm. The visuals are really good. Once again, there's just a lot of them. The acting was really good across the board, I thought. The design for some of the background characters did get a little less interesting as it went on, I felt.
Yeah, I feel like they had like 5 different body shapes and they just like replicated them.
Yeah, and there were definitely, it just kind of felt like a little more generic in some ways because you had so many characters going on. So that could be another thing. But I do think the choreography in this was very fun and very cool because when you have an animated Spider-Man movie, like, there's nothing stopping you from doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
So in live action, you can only CG it so much before it's like, that's obviously not working. Whereas in this one, they're like, let's go all in. Mm-hmm. And I think it works very well. Yeah. You definitely feel the Spider-Man-ness of it all. Mm-hmm. But you did point out, like, you definitely feel like these people would be a menace to society.
It's true.
Like, who are these people just swinging by?
I know. I'm grateful that there's really no such thing as superheroes.
It's true.
We don't need those. Can you imagine the moral ethics of that?
It's true. I mean, they're vigilantes, right?
Yeah, but we don't need vigilantes.
It's true, but like, That's what the Nolan Batman movies deal with, right?
That's true.
It's just like, where is there a place for vigilantism?
I don't think there is.
It's true. Yeah, choreography was really fun, really good. The whole spot sequence was probably the most fun, just because they really played into that, and they really could, just because this is the fun of animated movies. Like with Avatar: The Last Airbender, it being an animated movie, they could really play into them using the elements in ways you just can't do in live action. And for some reason, people feel bent on like having to do a live action remake for some reason. But like, is live action just superior because it's live action? I guess
No,
so.
I think they definitely can both do things better than the other.
Yeah.
I prefer live action. And actually, I was just thinking the only movies that we've disagreed on liking, like the ones you like that I don't like, have only been animated ones.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, when you have an animated movie, there's like, in this example, there's so much you can do because it's all animated, so there's already that suspension of disbelief, whereas with live action, you have to start putting in CG, and then there's only so much of that you can do before it's like, I can't buy into this anymore. It's breaking my brain. All right, on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give this for writing?
Probably a 4.
Okay.
I saw that's what you were going to rank it as.
Why are you peeking? You can't peek. Stop
No,
peeking.
not peeking. No, that's not why I rated it that. I would say it's decent. Like, I would say the storyline is followable.
Followable.
Again, not super gripping, but
Not super crisping. Oh, okay. Gripping.
Not super gripping, but like fine. So yeah, I'd say 4.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I can kind of figure out. I mean, I kind of know what's going on for the most part, barring like the weird multiverse stuff that I just kind of don't really. And again, I don't like multiverses.
Okay, so now that we're in writing, want to delve into why you don't like multiverses?
I find excessive multiverse activity to be similar to excessive magic.
Yeah, that's
in
fair.
a movie where like anything goes, or excessive fake science, as Christopher Nolan likes to do a lot of.
Okay, listen.
No shade on him.
Same. There are rules.
Yeah, I mean, okay. But I just think that there's too much room for being able to just make up whatever you want and then kind of milk that for as long as you want.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I don't know, just to me it seems like not lazy storytelling, but not...
Anything goes. And
yeah.
We have to accept it.
Yeah.
Because what are the rules? Well, do they apply? Who's to say?
I know, I feel like there's just a lot of room for like plot holes and stuff in that, and it's just, I don't know, not my fave.
That's fair. That's understandable. I was thinking about that earlier too. Like, yeah, I definitely can see how this could be a crutch, and is kind of becoming a crutch, and probably will be more of a crutch going forward.
Yeah, because like in the Loki show.
Oh, we've not made any comparisons to the Loki show. We should do that.
But like that, it's just like, okay, how many times can you be like, new character shows up, this is you 400 years ago, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then you have to do that, and then someone else comes, you're like, by the way, this is also you, except 400 years into the future, and then you're like, oh, it's just, I don't know. To me, it's just kind of, it's kind of lazy storytelling. Yeah. Lazy storytelling, and also it requires too much. Like, if we didn't have Google, would we be able to enjoy these movies to the fullest extent?
What do you mean by that?
Like, if we couldn't, like, afterwards, because I know, like, when movies come out, like, the shows, like the Loki show, there's, like, entire Reddit threads and stuff of people, like, talking about it. And, like, if there was no Google where we could be like, so, who was this character and where in the timeline did they land? Would we really be able to, like, fully enjoy it? Whereas if we have a linear story in the real world, in the one dimension that exists, it's just much easier to enjoy and not have to, like, Google to fully understand. Because you can watch it and enjoy it still. I'm not saying you can't, but I think there is kind of, it's more difficult.
Okay. I can understand that argument, but I feel like kind of going along with magic while there is definitely a tendency to use it as a crutch. Especially, and it's a shame that like Marvel, the MCU has to be the topic of the day when it comes to that. Just like, superheroes with powers that aren't really explainable, so it's like anything can happen. It's like, well, what does this mean? Like, what are the stakes? Because as we kind of have an expectation of rules as humans, but then, there's Lord of the Rings where there's magic, right? And that's fine. We accept that for what it is.
Yeah, because it's tasteful and not excessive.
Yeah, so there's a place for it, and when it's set up well, even in Harry Potter,
Is
right?
there magic in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, that's like what's considered a soft magic.
Yeah, because I'm not really thinking of anything particularly miraculous happening in the Lord of the Rings, other than the fact that they're all like mythical creatures and such.
I mean, the movies probably don't have as much as the books did. But like, there's Harry Potter, and it's fun and whimsical.
Yeah. Yeah, again, because it's like reined in for the most part. I would say Harry Potter's gonna be a little excessive.
Maybe,
Magic.
Perhaps,
But not enough for it to not be enjoyable.
But I think this kind of goes back to with great power comes great responsibility thing. When you have something that can be that much of a crutch, if you are able to harness it for good storytelling, then it can tell very amazing stories. So I think with the multiverse, like I've been fascinated with the idea of it since reading, I think it was Brandon Sanderson's The Reckoners for the first time, which is like his superhero trilogy. And there was one character who had the superpower of reaching into like other multiverses to bring in other characters. And that was literally just their superpower. So like if they had to fight someone, they had to reach into a multiverse and pull someone else out. I just remember being like, that is very interesting. I've never heard of this before. And then lo and behold, it's a whole thing.
So maybe Brandon came up with it.
No, I doubt it. Definitely, Spider-Man probably would have been more likely to. What was I saying? I do think this movie, it definitely harnesses the idea of the multiverse the best I've seen so far. Primarily because, once again, because it's animated, it can go all out and there's really no limitations. But also, it's a comedy in some ways. Like I mentioned, there's a Tyrannosaurus Peter Parker. Like, what does that mean? I don't know. It makes no sense, but it's there, and that's fine because they know it's ridiculous. And I think that's part of it, is they know half these things are absolutely insane.
Like Spider Pig.
Like
Peter Porker.
Like Peter Porker or Peter Parker.
That was weird.
It's absurd, but they clearly have a lot of fun with it, and they do a fine enough time telling a decent story through it too. There are definitely some holes in the logic for sure, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But I think for me, and this is an example of it being done well and still being gripping. And you begin to question, like Miles' character, or even Tom Holland's character in, I guess it's No Way Home. Like, just because things play out in this way, and what are the moral and ethical implications of what I'm supposed to do as a person? So that's interesting. That makes for an interesting conversation. And as far as writing goes, I give this a 4. I think it has a lot of really good and a lot of really compelling and interesting characters and, like I said, conversations. Like the whole idea of the canon events being really interesting, right? And kind of dark and messed up. Like,
It's true.
like the whole Uncle Ben, the idea of like the whole Uncle Ben thing being like a canon event, right? Like, this has to happen for you to become Spider-Man. Otherwise, things kind of fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
Or in this case, I guess it's the captain dying. And like I was finding myself very like oddly, like very tense during that whole explanation and like the intervention that was being had. Like, this is interesting. Like, what are you supposed to do when this is like, as far as all the evidence shows, you're supposed to let this happen, but like.
But you're like, why do I have to?
You're convicted, like your heart tells you not to. Like, what does this mean? So I just thought that was very interesting. I thought Miles' dynamic with his parents was good. I thought the parent dynamic between Jeff and Rio was really fun. They had very good chemistry.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I really, like I mentioned before, when it came to Gwen and entertainment and Miles, I was very invested in their stories and their struggles with their parents and kind of just what that looks like. I think Miles had a good character arc in this one for the most part, even though the story's not finished, because his character arc was kind of self-acceptance of who he is and working up the courage to, I guess, he was wrestling with whether he should tell his parents this or not.
Yeah.
And if he came to the conclusion that he shouldn't and he was at peace with that, that'd be fine. But he came to the conclusion that he should. And it's very sad that he ends up in an alternate universe and it's all for naught.
I know.
But, he had that arc, so that was good. I thought Miles being an anomaly tied into the first film very well, like the idea of, because you were Spider-Man, you were never meant to be Spider-Man. This means this other universe now doesn't have Spider-Man, and the Spider-Man in your universe died saving you, and that caused a disruption in all these events and everything. Like, I don't know if they intended for that when they wrote the first one, but they tied it. I thought they tied it well together. And the way that was delivered by Miguel's character, literally like slamming Miles on a train, was
I know, that was
very intense.
Very rude.
Very rude.
He was obviously triggered.
Just a little bit.
I'm going to say one more thing about characters really fast. I felt like the motorcycle lady was a very poorly written character.
Yeah, she was just there.
Because she like, I don't know, it was weird because it made her seem like she was like this cool person that Gwen like was going to like look up to and be besties with. And she was like, she had like this identity of being pregnant and then having like a super hot husband apparently.
Yeah.
And then she like is mean afterwards. And then she's like mean and then she's lame and doesn't mean anything anymore in the story.
And she just had no role in it. Like, I think what they were trying to do is kind of, instead of it just being Miguel and Gwen, they try to bring in like another character to kind of make it a little more of a dynamic, which is fine. It's just, I kind of would have been interested if they did just Miguel and Gwen to kind of make an interesting, maybe even a father-daughter dynamic, and just then like the conflict of interest. That could have been really interesting.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. I thought Spot was an interesting villain. Like, he starts out really dorky, but he does kind of get creepy as it goes on. He gets really powerful. And it's like, oh, I had no idea he'd go this way. Some of the less positive aspects. Miguel, I did feel like his motives were a little stereotypical. I feel like we've seen it before. Kind of even like in the Loki show, or even in Into the Spider-Verse, like the whole idea, I found my family and was happy, and but things not working out, and that just, it's kind of like, I've seen this before, whatever. The spider people are all really dumb.
What do you mean?
Like, it's a comedy, but like the fact that all the spider people go after Miles, and it's a very fun, entertaining, enthralling, and even emotionally gripping scene, and intense. It's just like, realistically, what each of these spider people who are like the moral, like they're the superheroes in each of their realms. They have these convictions. Like, what is this?
Would all of them be on the same page and be like, chase him?
Get him, go! And it's like Hobie's the only one who's not. It's just really weird.
I know. I know, and Hobie's not doing it out of the kindness of his heart so much as because he likes to fight the power.
It's true. We haven't talked about, what's the India Spider-Man. We've not mentioned him at all. He was fun.
He was fun.
It's so easy being Spider-Man.
I know.
He has practically perfect life. He just gets up. He doesn't exercise because he doesn't want to get too buff.
I know.
Doesn't do anything with his hair.
I know. Everything's
He
perfect
drinks
for him.
his chai. Oh, I love chai tea. Chai tea? That's like saying tea.
I know.
Do you want your coffee and your cream?
I didn't know that about naan bread. I didn't know naan was bread.
That was an example of really fun, witty dialogue that just kept coming and going and going and going, and there being so much of it.
I always find it funny when movies have like the names like Mumbattan or San Francisco. Like, why are you combining these two places?
I know,
It's
that's
just funny.
Another plot hole, maybe it'll get answered in the later movie. If Miles is not the true Spider-Man, do the canon events still apply to him?
That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah, if he's not the true Spider-Man, why would his dad die?
Yeah, or is he the true Spider-Man? Because he had his Uncle Ben death, right? Which was his Uncle Aaron. So I wonder if they'll explore that in the later movie.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I just thought about that. Like, okay. Anywho. Okay, last category, content, where we weigh the more negative aspects of the story or elements, specifically, sexuality, language, violence, and weighed against the more positive aspects, the overall story, whether it had a place in it, whether it was offensive, and kind of draw a rating from there. So on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give this for content?
Probably a 4.
Okay.
There's nothing offensive in it.
Yeah.
It's maybe a little scary-ish for like young kids, maybe.
Yeah, there are definitely some more intense moments.
Yeah, I would say it's more emotionally intense. Towards the end is a little scary.
This is true. The whole Uncle Aaron alternate universe scene, that was kind of spooky.
Yeah, but other than that, I would say it's pretty chill.
I would agree. I think 4 is pretty good. Like, there's some language.
Is there?
Like, it's more mild. It's for like a PG movie, it's language, I guess. There's definitely a lot of action/cartoon violence, but it's not like it's all, how would you put it? It's never like I'm just beating up people because I can, so much as, there's always a good guy and a bad guy, and they just have fun with it. And and then there are more emotionally intense moments. And then, like you said, the whole ending, which, I guess I kind of overlooked that in writing. Anyway, that just being kind of a little more spooky, and like, for younger audiences, that might be a little creepy.
Yeah.
But it's pretty clean. Pretty clean movie overall. Not very crass or anything.
No.
Except for the holes joke. Stop talking about your holes, man. You're making everyone uncomfortable.
I know. That part was funny. Actually, that's probably one of my favorite lines in the movie.
Was it? That's funny. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and going back to writing. Ending, very drawn out. It's fine, I guess, because it's not, the end of the story. But it definitely was like, we're still going. We're still going. We're still going. Okay. All right. Wrap it up a little bit. Because you were like, where is this climax? I haven't, as a viewer built into me, I have an expectation of 3 acts to an extent. And when that doesn't play out, you're just kind of like at a loss for where it's going.
I wish they would have wrapped it all up in one movie.
Yeah.
But, oh well.
Who knows where this next movie is going to go.
I know.
Okay, so overall rating for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, what would you give this on a scale of 1 to 5? Would you recommend it? Would you not?
I would give it a 3.
Okay.
Would I recommend it? No. I mean, I wouldn't say don't watch it, but I would never. I wouldn't be like, you should watch that movie. It's cool. Because I don't really feel that way.
Yeah.
Didn't hate it though. But yeah, I'd give it a 3.
Okay. I'd give it a 4.5. I thoroughly enjoyed it, as you know. There's a lot of good in it. There's some whatevers in it too, for sure. But I think it's a fun movie. I definitely would recommend it in terms of, like, I don't know if I would go around, like, if I had to, top 15 movies, right? It would not be in that list.
Yeah.
But it's pretty, like, if I'm like, if you want an interesting movie, the fun time, watch this. The issue is that it's not very accessible to some audiences, like your dad, for example. Like, it's a horrible.
Did my dad see it?
Yeah, and he said it was a terrible movie just because it's so visually crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and he's not the person to pay attention to characters and plot. Whereas the Mario movie is the best movie in the world because he can relate and nostalgia in Mario.
Yeah, and it's easy to watch.
Yeah.
If there's not too much going on.
Whereas personally, I would disagree with that, but whatever.
It's funny.
So
I forgot about that.
I would recommend it to very specific people. I'd put
Yeah.
it that way. Just because it's not necessarily an accessible movie to everyone, which is fine. It still does well, and not every movie has to be for everyone. Okay. I think that's all we had on the agenda. Any final thoughts?
No, not really.
Not really?
I think we said all the good things.
Said all the good things. There we go. As you can tell,
Well,
our
I
voices
guess
are getting a little softer.
It's true.
Little
Well, I will
tired.
say, I guess, to the audience, I think everyone should just stop talking about their holes. Because it's making everyone uncomfortable.
Yes, everyone. Stop
That's
talking
the
about
the
your
moral of the story is to don't stop talking about your holes.
Yes.
I need to be told that more often.
And don't talk about your holes. Alrighty. Well, thank you all for listening. We hope you've been inspired to have some more conversations around the movies you're watching, maybe even this film if you've watched it. Let us know what you thought about the movie in the comments. Let us know what you thought about our ratings, whether you agree, you disagree. And until next time, good film hunting and don't talk about your holes.